on with it.
Remarkable.
Just like 20 years ago. We were still calling it a war back then. We had no idea what was coming.
Response from the cerebral cortex. Good. Prepping for cranial intrusion. I've managed to identify the connection. Preparing to make final incision.
These readings are getting really erratic.
Of course they are. These implants were never designed to be removed. We are risking severe...
No plan B here, people. Do it.
Pupillary response normal. Vital stabilizing. Procedure complete.
Told them it would take more than that to keep you down. Welcome back, Commander.
What's up everyone, Darcblade here with my video review of Xcom 2. Developed by Firaxis Games and published by 2K Games, Xcom 2 received a worldwide release date of the 5th of February 2016. It was released exclusively for PC at the time of this review. Xcom 2 is the sequel to the franchise reboot Xcom Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within, a tactical turn-based game that is infamous for its difficulty. With the success of the franchise reboot, can Xcom 2 elevate the series to even greater heights? Let's find out. With this review I want to try to avoid major story spoilers. The story of Xcom 2 takes place 20 years after the events of Xcom Enemy Unknown. As a result of most Xcom players losing their first attempt at Enemy Unknown's story, the developers have made it canon that humanity lost the struggle against the alien invasion force. Now Earth is run by the alien invaders, and thanks to the Advent Coalition, Earth is now fully under the influence of their alien masters. The invaders and Advent have actually done much to sway the human race into believing that the aliens have peaceful intentions. However, all is not as it seems. Players take on the role of the Commando, who is freed from an alien stasis machine. Little is known to how the Commando was in such a machine, but once free you are reunited to what remains of the Xcom project. However, it is a shell of its former self. With little resources and funds, Xcom has become a guerrilla resistance fighting force, trying to interrupt the alien plans whenever they get a chance. Xcom have also now been uprooted. Instead of a base location, Xcom now operates out of a captured alien ship known as the Avenger. In this mobile base of operations, Xcom have a better chance of opposing the aliens and Advent. Returning from previous games are members of the Xcom team, including Central Officer Bradfords, who resumes his role as the key coordinator for the players' anti-alien efforts. You are also introduced to Annie Shen, who is the daughter and successor of her father, Dr. Raymond Shen, the engineering officer from the previous Xcom games. On the science team you now have a rogue Advent scientist, Dr. Richard Tigan, who replaces the missing Dr. Valen. Of course, as with previous Xcom games, Xcom 2's story will include numerous Xcom soldiers who you create, customize, live and die with. These will help make the story your own and something unique to you. Once set up, you will have opportunities to disrupt alien activities, make contact with other human resistances, and try to prevent the aliens from completing their sinister Avatar project. While the story may not be the forefront of the game, it is told through your supporting members of the Xcom team like Shen and Bradfords, but also through your soldiers' actions, as you fail, dominate, or just scrape through Xcom 2's many missions. The gameplay at its core will feel very familiar to anyone who has experienced any of the previous Xcom titles before. You manage your base while not on a mission using scientists to research new technologies, while your engineers build equipment for your soldiers and base. While you're on a mission, you take your time to move your soldiers around the map, completing objectives and killing enemy soldiers. You could compare the missions you take part in XCOM as being equivalent to a chess game, albeit a very complicated one. This being said though, Firaxis have evolved the formula, making it way more streamlined. When it comes to your base, you no longer have a massive underground facility to build on. Instead, you have the Avenger, a commandeered alien vessel. With the Avenger you can still create different rooms for different functions, but when compared to the previous titles it's a lot simpler. For example, there are no longer adjacent bonuses for building two of the same rooms next to each other. While you still use rooms for different purposes, you can now assign engineers to them. These engineers as well have been given more character thanks to them actually receiving names this time round. The engineers can provide different buffs to the function of these rooms. You can also use your scientists and that to research new technologies that will allow for different equipment, rooms and buffs to be constructed. It's a shame though that scientists don't get an identity when compared to the engineers. Before going on a mission you'll have to visit Central, the brainstem of the XCOM resistance. Here players can go about different tasks, including which mission to take on. Unlike previous XCOM titles, a lot of fat has been cut from the Central's function. During your time with Central, you'll need to plan your attack and where your efforts are best used. And do you take on an alien supply depot or try to reconnect with the local resistance? These choices will dictate future missions and even how the story unfolds. You're also given a little bit of a time limit thanks to the Alien Avatar project. So you can't just waste time, as the project timer is kind of a doomsday countdown. Once ready to take on a mission, it's now time to assemble your XCOM soldiers. While setting up a team, or when heading to the barracks, you will be able to recruit, customize, or even create your XCOM soldiers. Like other games, there is a lot of customization options, but XCOM 2 gives you an even greater toy box to play with. From the armor to even the accents your soldiers have, there is a lot of options. Okay, some people may be disappointed you cannot pick people from every country in the world, but there are still a lot of options. Your soldiers can also come in different classes, and you can even train them to be what class you want them to be. There are 5 classes in total, and each have 2 further subclasses within them of sorts. You have the sharpshooter that replaces the sniper, the grenadier that replaces the heavy, the ranger that replaces the assault, and the specialist which replaces the support. You also have the 5th class, which is a psi operative, when you're further into the game. Each of these can take different abilities with the talent trees, which involve a choice between the 2 subclasses. This can result in a lot of different class mix-ups, and it will be interesting to see what players come up with. Once your team is ready, you can send them off onto their mission. Once landed, now the turn-based strategy part of the game begins. You will move your team about the map, taking on the enemy forces you encounter with the tools your soldiers have at their disposal. When it comes to attacking or taking damage, XCOM series has always been about chance. As such, your success will be on increasing that chance percentage, getting close to foes, flanking them, getting higher ground. All of these players will need to take into consideration in order to win. Each operative will be given a number of options per turn. Examples will be moving 2 times, or moving then shooting, or reloading, taking cover, or going into Overwatch. Overwatch again is a very useful mechanic that returns from the previous games. It can also be a lifesaver at times. Overwatch basically puts your soldier into a shoot on sight mode, and if the enemy moves into their line of sight, then your soldier will shoot even though it's technically not their turn. Missions you take on will vary, with some being timed and others not. When I say timed missions, I mean as in complete a mission in a certain number of turns. These have always been present in XCOM games, but they seem to be abundant in XCOM 2. But I can see the need for missions to be hasty in some story setups. It can also lead to players making very stupid and rushed mistakes, which is normally out of character for how XCOM experts would take on the game, especially in previous installments. This is also not helped by the fact that the alien forces are relentless in their abilities to counter you. However, now XCOM is a guerrilla force, in many missions your squad can take advantage of the concealment mechanic. This allows players to take missions on unseen at the start of it. Basically you're invisible to all enemies unless you get close to them and into their line of sight. With this you can really take an advantage and take out potentially 2 groups of enemies through setting up the correct trap. It takes a little while to get used to, but once you mastered it, it is a very nice mechanic and a nice touch to the game. Missions in XCOM 2 also benefit from procedurally generated maps to try to keep each mission different. While at first this is great, the more you play XCOM, the more some maps will feel similar, even if there are slight differences. The Advent forces and the aliens are always a present threat on missions. They are not to be taken lightly, even on the lower difficulty settings. They can easily drop an XCOM soldier. The aliens range from simple foot soldiers to large monstrosities. Each have their own set of tactics too, and players will need to adapt in order to best counter what lies between them and their objective. One aspect of what makes XCOM 2 the game it is its difficulty. As the series is infamous for its difficulty, XCOM 2 keeps that trend going. Thanks to the enemies you face, missions you take on, timed missions, reliance on percentages, and good old human error, XCOM 2's difficulty can cause a whole host of emotions in the player. Frustration as your ranger misses an easy shotgun shot, relief as you pull off a mission by the skin of your teeth, and pride after receiving that flawless rank at the end of a mission. All I can say is that the gameplay of XCOM 2 is deep, tactical, and you need a lot of patience because it can frustrate you. But get past that and it can bring you a lot of joy that makes the pain worth it. Multiplayer is available in XCOM 2. It pits two players head to head against each other, one using the XCOM forces, the other the aliens. Both players will have a set amount of points to create their forces in this one-off mission. This means you can spend points making a huge force of inexperienced cheap troops, or go into battle with a few soldiers who are highly skilled with decent gear. For me though, the multiplayer has never been the draw of the XCOM series, and this also applies to XCOM 2. While it's an interesting distraction for a little while, for me it doesn't last long. XCOM 2 has been built for the PC, but is by no means a powerhouse in the presentation department. It does not look bad, but it's not up with the high-end graphics of other games on the market. Its character models are detailed enough, although there is some clipping. XCOM 2's soldier customization options give you a whole host of interesting looking characters. The alien designs though are very good, with each model on them having textures that really make them look out of this world. The landscapes and maps come in a variety of different environments, from utopian style cities to rusty makeshift countryside settlements. Each one not being the most detailed is distinct enough to give you a sense of where you are fighting. The Avenger too is simple enough, with enough touches to make it look fresh. Looking over the various rooms, you will see XCOM staff and soldiers going about their daily routines. A nice touch. When you're in Central controlling the Avenger, deciding what missions to do, you'll get an overworld map of Earth, which is the traditional XCOM light blue and digitized. The sound design of XCOM 2 is wonderful, from the music that changes depending on what is going on in the mission to the voice acting. Both are performed well. While some players may be disappointed that their language or accents are not included within XCOM 2's choices of soldier voices, I'm sure that with mods this can be amended. A highlight for me for the voice acting was hearing the voice of John Bailey as the voice of the council's spokesman. He really does have an amazing voice. Firaxis are also allowing the modding community to go wild with XCOM 2. So in time I'm sure the presentation for the game will be made even better. The major downside of XCOM 2 though comes within the presentation department. The game in its current state has numerous bug and glitch issues with animation clipping through walls and objects and so on. Some players also have difficulty highlighting the correct floor when tackling multi-story buildings, and others have experienced issues with frame rate, which unfortunately I was one of them. Overall, XCOM 2 is a gem, a strategical masterpiece designed to test the limits of its players. Even with multiple difficulties, it will still prove difficult at times, especially if you rush. Taking on XCOM 2, you will have to use your mind, think about your moves and what could be the results of that said move, and then think even past that. It really is chess-like in a way. Some players may hate the fact that parts of the game are down to chance, like when it comes to attacking, but with that in mind, rather than just simply attacking, think of how you can increase that attack chance. Do you flank the enemy, destroy their cover, use an attack that has a guaranteed hit? Using all that you have will give you the best chance of winning. For me, the only annoying parts of XCOM 2 were really the countdown timers, the avatar project, or the mission turns. However, playing the game through a second time, you've learned from your mistakes and how you can best use your time with the game. The game is not 100% friendly to newcomers. This is because the story has evolved from previous games and mentions elements from those games. It also does little in the way of tutorials. While this won't be an issue for returning players, newcomers are bound to get a little confused at times. The story keeps you invested enough to see it through to the end if you make it that far. The gameplay though is both punishing and rewarding at the same time. I personally love the customization you get with your soldiers that help you get attached to your operatives. This for me makes both the gameplay and the story even better. The presentation is adequate enough. Character models of the aliens deserve praise, as does the voice acting and music that helps set the mood for this struggle for Earth. If you seek a challenge, a game that will be potentially unforgiving, that will push you, then maybe taking up the mantle of the commander and leading the Xcom project to victory over the alien occupants is your calling, making Xcom 2 a must-have for anyone who enjoys strategy games. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my video review of Xcom 2. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.
Sir, given our current location, there's actually no way the Sky Ranger could reach that position.
Who said anything about the Sky Ranger? Shen, status report. Are we ready?
Short answer? Yes. But you might all want to hold on to something.